idea that there's going to be a widespread outbreak here, I think, is just, again, it's a bit of fear-mongering. We have a single case. This is not a big
but I'm just getting back to the president's statement, doctor, and that is that the president said it would be unlikely if we had a case in this country. Unlikely to have even one case. Want to go back and see the tape again?
He said it wouldn't be an Ebola outbreak, and I think that's
no. And in the second part of his sentence, he said that in the unlikely case someone brings it here.
Yeah.
In the unlikely case somebody brings it here. Well, they've done it. We're living in the world of the unlikely already. That's all I'm saying.
All right, folks, we're going to get to Ebola in just a second. We have breaking news as we speak. The director of the Secret Service, Julia Pearson, has resigned this one day after she was grilled on a bipartisan basis by the House Oversight Committee yesterday. And once again, the head of the Secret Service, Julia Pearson, has resigned following a really brutal hearing where revelations came out that not only about the fence jumper at the White House, now we have revelations that the president was in an elevator at the CDC a few weeks ago when he made an appearance there with a security guard who had a criminal record and had a gun on him. So this is totally out of hand, and rightfully so. She has resigned. She should have been fired immediately, but she is gone, and we'll bring you more details as they become available. Now, joining us is Dr. David Sanders, Associate Professor of Biological Sciences and Chair of the university's Senate Steering Committee at Purdue University. Doctor, I welcome you. You heard Ezekiel Emanuel talking there with Chris Matthews. Actually, I agree with Matthews for probably the first time in my life. I don't think anybody's being hysterical in expressing lots of concern. You know, the president just last week said it would be highly unlikely that an Ebola case would come to the United States. Well, the unlikely has happened already. God forbid more unlikeliness occurs. We know kids have been in contact with this guy who has Ebola. How bad could this get?
I think we need to focus on the fact that reducing the number of cases in Africa is our best defense against having it spread here in the United States. So are we going to see additional cases here in the United States? It's not unlikely that we will. I do think that we have in place a system for protecting the American public. Nothing is foolproof, but I do think that
Doctor, with all due respect, Doctor,
yes.
Doctor, what's the system? What system do we have? Nobody's checking anybody at airports. The CNN reporter just back from the very country where this man who has Ebola came back from said she and her crew, nobody checked them, nobody asked them, nobody touched them, nothing at the airport in America, wherever the heck they landed. You got the hospital sent this guy home. He said, hey, I was in that African country and I got fever. I don't feel good. Go home. It's the flu. Take a pill. I mean, what's in place? We're not quarantining. We're letting people come out of these infected countries into our country. This guy didn't exhibit symptoms until he got off the plane and days passed. What's the system that's in place?
So first thing is, I agree with you that we should be considering having a system in place at our airports for detecting people with fevers, for example. That's the standard protocol. They have that in other countries. I think we should be figuring out what sort of infrastructure we need to have in place to make that a reality. First thing, though, is when he's not exhibiting symptoms, he's not infectious. That is what all of the epidemiology associated with Ebola tells us. So as long as he's not exhibiting symptoms, he's not going to be infectious. As to being sent home, my impression was that he was not initially asked whether he had traveled. And I think that that has to be an important part of our health system. I agree that it hasn't been fully implemented, but a physician should always, when confronted with an infectious disease, ask somebody whether they've traveled recently. And that would be true whether or not there's an Ebola outbreak, because there are different types of diseases in other parts of the world, and a physician needs to be aware of that so we can understand what are the potential diseases that are consistent with these symptoms, and it will be dependent upon where the person traveled. But we do have a system, as you can see, Now, the person is under quarantine, and we have a robust system for trying to contact all the people with whom that person had contact, and we're going to be, putting that into place. And so we can see with the outcome of this as to whether we have a larger spread or not. So, and I'm fairly confident that it will be able to be contained. So those are the sorts of things that we have to confront. But if we want to stop Ebola in particular, we have to focus our resources on stopping the epidemic in Africa. That is where it's originated.
Well, how about but doctor, how about preventing people from Africa in those countries from coming here? Just don't let them come in.
Right. So one of the things that we have to
think about. We got 30 seconds, so go ahead.
One of the things that we have to think about is if we were to cut off travel to and from those countries, we would prevent our ability to intervene there and to prevent the spread. And that is really...
No. I mean, anybody in the medical profession who wants to go there, they could go there. But I'm talking about the general public. Doctor, thank you very much. Folks, the Malzberg panel will join us once again after the break. But first, Operation Nickelgrass was an overt strategic airlift. Richard Nixon saved Israel during the 73 Yom Kippur War. Let's take a look back with this hour's American Moment.
On October 6, 1973, while the nation of Israel observed Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year for Jews, the combined military forces of Egypt and Syria launched a simultaneous and surprise attack on Israel's southern and northern borders. Within days, the Israeli army found itself in retreat, losing a third of its equipment and outnumbered by the enemy 3-1.
As he could not believe, he said, "We cannot stop them."
Recognizing their very existence was at stake, President Nixon moved quickly to resupply our ally Israel and their besieged army. With an around-the-clock airlift of U.S. military support, the tide of battle shifted, and soon the Israeli armies were advancing into both Syria and Egypt, with Israeli General Ariel Sharon's tanks threatening Egypt's Third Army with annihilation. The Soviet Union, who were supporting the Arab armies, quickly called upon President Nixon to stop the Israelis' advance or risk a larger war. The president intervened, saved the Egyptian army, and then used the opportunity to convince Egypt's President Anwar Sadat to seek a peaceful solution to a conflict that had plagued the region for decades. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
The Secret Service Director resigns. We'll have more information at the top of the hour. I'm Francesca Page, and this story tops your Newsmax Now update. In light of recent Secret Service mistakes, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi is calling for a third-party investigation. The man accused of jumping a fence and running into the White House is in court today. Omar Gonzalez was indicted yesterday on both federal and local charges. Sources say an armed security contractor rode in an elevator with President Obama during his visit to the CDC last month, even though it's against Secret Service protocol. Texas officials say the man infected with the Ebola virus had contact with 5 children. So far, none of them are showing symptoms. The man's sister has identified him as Thomas Eric Duncan. That's your latest Newsmax Now update. More coming your way in 30 minutes.